Okay, here we are, guys. We're already up to week 3. After this week, we only have 12 weeks remaining. And then, of course, finals week. You guys have chapter 4 assignment due this week. Taking a look at that, you'll find when we get going on project 1 that it's kind of similar. What I would tell you is that the assignment's kind of breaking it down, whereas the project's going to be putting it together maybe in a bigger scope, if you want to call it that. So it's kind of a nice thing to look at and a nice thing to go through, and it's probably a pretty good time for me to get you started on project 1, which, by the way, I'm going to give you an assignment for Thursday. Okay, but it shouldn't be too daunting. By Thursday, you will need to choose the type of company that you want to do your project 1 on. Okay, I've already had one person made that choice, so that's good. That's out of the way. Again, I'll remind you, keep it simple. Okay, keep it simple. I'm not trying to have you learn everything all at once here. You know, this stuff's really easy to scale up. I shouldn't say really easy, but it's pretty easy to scale up. So start with a small business that, you know, you'd think about. You know, some of the more common ones, you know, I'll give you an example. You know, you could start a Starbucks, right, type of a business. Or maybe you just start one of these little kiosks that they have downtown. You see them, they've kind of popped up all over the place. Well, a little kiosk downtown would be pretty simple, right? You know, you make some lattes, you make some coffees, whatever the case may be. So do that, okay? It would be quite easy to scale that up to a full-fledged, full-service kind of a coffee type of a shop, right? So keep that in mind as you choose that. I think I have, let's go check. Yeah, I got some goofed up stuff here, though, I got to fix, so I will. Project 1, the business idea, I've got it in there. Yeah, I've got that set up for September 9th, don't I? So, okay. So we should be good. That's Thursday, right? You guys need to get that, just get that submitted. You can either do that, you know, if you want to put it on a Word doc and attach it, that's fine. But I think in your submission thing, there's a place where you can put a note or whatever. You just put it right in there, you know. I'm going to do a car wash. I'm going to do whatever the case may be. Okay. Today and Thursday, we'll probably take a look at a couple of these statements then to kind of get you started. I want you guys, you know, you got one assignment due, you got a quiz due this week. That's good. Shouldn't be too daunting, I don't think. The last problem on the assignment, I will tell you, it's not at all difficult. It's just a little bit time consuming. Make sure you set it up properly. Make sure everything's in order. You know, do it the right way and it'll work out fine and you'll do well as long as you take your time in setting it up and read it really closely, because some stuff starts in one month but you don't really account for it till the next month, I think, and vice versa. I'd have to look at the problem again for sure. So you got to read it closely and make sure that you're setting things up properly and using some formulas and whatnot. So yeah, I've got that due. We'll talk about a couple of the spreadsheets. Let me get going on that here right now. Project 1. You can see if you scroll way down over here in the content section, I got separate sections set up here for the projects. Your business idea, I've got, you know, you just need to tell me what type of business, so that's in there. The next one you're going to do is a starting point, okay? And I've got to find the actual templates. I think I've got those in a separate thing altogether, maybe. Maybe I don't. Well, I got to get those put on there then, the templates for you guys to use. Shame. Oh, there it is. I'm sorry. And this is it. This is the only template, okay, because it's all put together. So it's under Project 1. It's the second thing down. You'll want to download it. Save it at least to 2 different places, so you got a backup copy. Or if you're submitting it, then you're gonna have that backup copy right there on D2L that you can always pull up, or I can pull up if we have to. So, if you get it done and you submit it, even if you submit it early and put a little note in there that says, hey, I'm not done with this yet or something, that's fine. Okay, that's one way of saving it, I suppose, that would work fine too, so that you've got some copies of it. Remember, you gotta, when you open it up, you've got to hit the enable editing. If all else fails, come and read the directions, okay? Because there are formulas in the workbook that are locked. If changes are needed, the unlock code is 1234. So to unlock it, you come up to review where it says protect. I think if you were trying to unlock a deal, it would say unprotect then. But you click it. This is protecting certain things. So again, if you were on a cell that you needed to unprotect, it would say unprotect. You click on that. It asks for the code. You type in 1234, and you're good to go. Okay. There shouldn't be too many of those cells that you will be changing, but I think there are a couple as the assignment goes on. Okay. Then as you get to the starting point, and again, this is right out of Chapter 4 stuff basically, a little bit. The Chapter 4 talks more about pro forma, which is how's your company going to look a year from now, which is what the ending balance sheet is going to look like, and maybe the income statements and those types of things are going to look like. This is your startup expenses and sources of funding, which again, we used to always call it kind of a sources and uses type of a thing. Make sure you do the top part first, okay? So make sure you do the top part first. I'm going to go through a couple of these. Real estate, land, and buildings. Only if you're going to purchase land and or buildings, or if you were going to purchase land and build a building, you would put some numbers in there, okay? I would recommend that you lease a place, okay? Now, it could be, if you're going to put in one of those coffee kiosks, yeah, you might go to Montana Shed Company and buy a shed for $10,000 or whatever it is and set that up. That's fine, but you'd be leasing probably somebody's parking lot in order to put the kiosk up, right? Okay, so if you're going to do land purchase, this is where you'd put it. The reason we separate the land from the buildings is this, okay? Buildings are a depreciable asset. Land itself is not depreciable. Okay, and as we go further along, and we'll get to some other assignments that come up, we'll talk about what depreciation, or did we already do depreciation? No, I think that's coming up. Okay, so we'll talk about the impact of depreciation on taxes and those types of things. Okay, now if you are going to lease a place, there is a good chance you're going to need some leasehold improvements. What are those things? You might want to just go in and paint the walls, right? You might want to put in some new flooring. Usually the landlord does not do that. Sometimes they will. I mean, different leases have different agreements, and that's fine. You may want to put in an extra bathroom. You may want to change the bathroom so it's handicapped accessible. Different things like that, and that's fine. So kind of think about that. Think about a location. Think about a location that would be an actual location. In this class, I don't ask you to go out and do a lot of the research, but kind of think about a location that might be an actual location of what you'd want to put in there. Okay, equipment. Equipment's the things that you're going to use to make or sell your product, basically. Okay, so that could be machinery equipment, manufacturing equipment, but it could also be your point of sale stuff that you might use. Okay, some things like that you might have, a forklift if you need one. Tools you could probably put in there if you were going to do a mechanic type of a thing. Okay, tools or other equipment you might need, a balancing machine or those types of things, depending on the tire machine, something like that, right? Furniture and fixtures are the other things that you need there. That's the shelving, if you're doing a clothing store, the racks that you're going to hang the clothing on, those types of things. Vehicles if needed. Okay, you may not need an actual vehicle for your business, and once again, here's a case where you can actually rent your own vehicle. Right? So you could have business over here, and if you actually need a vehicle, the business can pay you for using your vehicle in a sense, right? Okay. There's some games that we play like that when we're trying to save some money on taxes or do some different things, and you got to look at both the business and the personal income taxes that would happen. Other might be, you may have a different business that needs some other kind of equipment, tools, whatever. that you could put in there, and that's fine. If you want to make some notes over here, by the way, I tell you not to change many, if any, white cells in here, but this is one good place where you can. You can make some notes and say, oh, I need, if it's other because you got kind of a strange business, put a little note in there that this is what you're buying. Okay, this is what you're, that way I kind of know what it is when I'm going through it. It's kind of nice. You get down here, keep in mind when it says pre-opening salaries and wages, it's exactly that. Okay, it's only that money that you would pay somebody before you actually opened the door. So if you needed some help to come in, tear out some carpet, okay, that might go in there. You need some help for somebody who's going to come in and help you paint the walls, you're going to pay them, $500, that could go in there. Okay, only that. The day you start your business, that doesn't belong in here. That's going to go on our operating expenses a little bit later, or on the payroll that we're going to do a little bit later. Okay, the one business that's been submitted already, there's probably not going to be any pre-opening salaries or wages. I can't imagine what it would be for that type of a business. So it's probably going to be zero, and that's fine. Okay. Prepaid insurance, yeah, we're all going to have prepaid insurance. We're going to have a liability policy at the very least. Okay, we're going to have to get from a insurance agent. May or may not be a heck of a lot of money. Again, if you keep it simple, it's probably not going to be a lot of money. Why do you have prepaid insurance? Well, because you're starting out, your insurance agent isn't going to carry your insurance, right? They want you to pay for that ahead of time. And then technically it will get amortized over that first year. So just as an example, if your insurance policy were going to be like $50 a month, you're going to pay $600, and that's what you'd put in here, $600. Number lock thing off. I'd put $600 in there then. Okay. That's going to amortize. When you look at the income statement, that's going to show up as $50 a month. Right, for that first year. Okay. Inventory. If you've got a type of business that needs some inventory, that's where that would go in there. So if you're a clothing store, a coffee shop, something like that, a little retail location or something, you're going to have some inventory. You just got to kind of make a guess. Again, if we were doing entrepreneurship, I'd make you do a little research and try to come up with a little more accurate number. But in this case, we can just kind of make a guess as to any inventory that we might need. Legal and accounting fees. Again, maybe, maybe not. You might not have any. If you thought you might want to be an LLC, which would be a very popular type of business entity, because you can limit your liability with an LLC is a big thing. You can also do some tax things that become kind of okay. Then you might have to spend a little bit of money setting something like that up. Rent deposits, if you're going to lease a location, it's almost guaranteed that you're going to put down a deposit, right? If you rent a house or an apartment, your landlord makes you put down a deposit. Same thing on the commercial side. Okay, so that's what we'd put there. Utility deposits is a maybe. Okay, if you don't have, right now I think it is set up this way. If you don't have an account already with Northwestern and you want to open up a business or something, they're going to require that you put down a little deposit, to pay your gas and electric. The city of Havre might. I'm not sure about that anymore, if they require a little deposit. Question? Kinda. I mean, I want you to think about them and try to make it make sense, but yeah. And if you want to do a little, if you want to Google it and you come up with a number, that's fine. But I don't want you, I'm more concerned about how the numbers end up showing up in the spreadsheets versus them being totally accurate when you first put them in. Samantha?
So basically basic research is that.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Spend a couple minutes, if you find it great. If not, make a wag, a wild ass guess, and we'll call it good at this point in time. Okay. Supplies are different than inventory. Make sure we keep those things separated, right? Are you going to need some supplies? Probably. Okay, if you got a little retail location, you're going to need some cleaning rags, then stuff to spray, to clean, whatever. If you're doing lawn mowing, gasoline, and maybe garbage bags, and those types of things are going to be some supplies. Okay, keep in mind now this is just some stuff to get you started, because it's also going to show up on a monthly basis on your operating expenses when we get to the operating expense statement. So only what you kind of need initially, what you think you're going to need to start off with just to get you through the first month even, is what you put for supplies here. Because you'll be restocking, right? You'll be going to the store and whatever, you're having it come in on order, right? Those supplies on an ongoing basis. So just to kind of get you going. Advertising and promotions. You might spend, this is again, it's going to be a monthly expense, so this is just the stuff that's kind of pre-opening, right? But you might spend a little bit of pre-opening. You want people to know who you are, what you are, so, this might, and you might buy some signs, that go on your car. You might do some different things like that. So this number might be a, bit of a number, right? Be thinking about that, if you want to, I see people in the past say, well, I'm going to get a billboard, and they don't realize that a billboard is going to cost you, $500 a month, and you got to sign a year lease, right? So that's going to be a $6,000 bill that they might want up front, okay? So you got to kind of think about some of those things. They're a little more expensive than what you might initially think. You want an awning up over your entrance that's got your name on it. Those are pretty pricey. So licenses, Havre doesn't have a business license requirement. There may be some licenses some license requirements that you're going to have. Otherwise, if you're going to be a barber, you got to have a license, I think, to be a barber through the state. If you're going to do a liquor business, you want to do a bar, which gets a little bit complicated. A full beverage license. The last one I financed, this is 20 years ago, they've actually come down in price, I think, was $180,000. Just for the license, just for the ability to sell liquor, okay? Nothing else came with that. So, okay, if you're going to do a bar or something like that, let me know, and we'll talk about that a little bit. Okay, other initial startup costs, again, that's just a catch-all. If there's some things there that I haven't touched on, again, helps if you make some little notes over there, that's great. Working capital, we all have to have working capital. What that is you got to have some cash in the bank when you open up your doors. Okay, because you got to be ready for some of those little contingency things that might come up. So it better be something. The SBA looks at it, and this was probably the thing when I used to send in loans for SBA approval. That whole process has changed now, but it'd get sent back, and about 90% of the time it would say because there was inadequate working capital or cash on hand. Okay, what they generally want to see is about 6 months worth of operating expenses. Okay. Unfortunately, right now, you don't know what your operating expenses are going to be because we're going to do that a little bit later. So you can put an amount in here, and then if we get to the operating expenses and you see, oh, crap, that was way low, I'll come back and up that amount a little bit. And we can make those changes, retroactive. It's pretty simple. Okay. So put something in there. You might be able to think through your brain. Again, the one that's been submitted, the operating expenses aren't going to be very much on a monthly basis, right? So this could probably be a relatively small number, okay? If you had 3 employees and you were doing this and that and the other thing, the operating expenses may be, if you're going to rent the place that's $1,000 a month, well, you got $6,000 right there, right? Okay, that you want then that's going to be a part of your operating expenses. So kind of, again, think it through a little bit. When we get to the sources, okay, I like to say this is easy because here's where we really do just make up some numbers for this particular project, and that's fine. Okay, I do want everybody to have a loan of some sort, be it big or small, okay, just so it kind of shows up. So even if it's $1,000 to help you get going and do some stuff, and that could be either, a commercial loan, commercial mortgage, I'll explain the differences here, credit card possibly, vehicle loan, sure, or other bank debt, okay? So I want everybody to put something in there, okay? Generally speaking, when you go to finance a business, the max you're going to finance is, let's call it 70 to 80%. So what do I mean? So if you're up here and your total required funds came to $20,000, the max you're going to be able to finance is probably between $14,000 and $16,000 then, right? Okay. How would you break that down? Well, if I had a vehicle up here and it was 10,000 of that 20,000 because I'm going to do a mobile service business or something. Okay. So then, well, geez, I'm going to finance my vehicle down here. Well, 70% of 10,000 is $7,000. So I'm going to have a vehicle loan for $7,000, right? Now I still got another 10,000 that I have to finance otherwise. That might be in the form of a commercial loan. Again, I'm only going to be able to do 70 to 80% of that. Maybe I get an $8,000 commercial loan, okay? So now I got 15,000 that I've financed. I've got 2 loans for 15,000. I have to come up with $5,000 of owner's equity, either myself and some investors. Yeah, Marty. Grants are extremely, extremely rare. Yeah, you could count those as maybe an outside investor, maybe. I mean, they do some of those. I can tell you in my years in banking, my many years in banking, the only grants I saw, there were some, we got some through the tribe. And mainly those were agriculture, though, not so much even. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and probably with all the COVID stuff, there could be some out there. And so when I say, my experience was not much, that's true back in the day, but there's probably some more out there that I'm not as aware of. And I'd just put that as an outside investor then, Again, you could come over here, notes, and put a little note, yeah, VA grant or something like that, just so then I can kind of see it. Down below, you don't have anything to do down here, okay? The important thing is you can see here I require more funding, right? I'm not balanced. Well, that's because I need to have a $400 credit card loan and I'm going to put $200 in myself. Now I'm balanced, okay? Yeah, and you need it to be green here, okay? So when you're working on that before you submit it, that should be green. So, you can make it green, right? Just make sure that this adds up to whatever this is up here. That's why I want you to do the top part first, and then you can kind of break these things down a little bit. So, okay? Any other questions about that? That's all. We're going to break this project down. I'll talk a little bit about this week and get you guys going on that. This will probably be due next Tuesday then or something. Okay? And get you going, and then we'll talk about payroll, operating expenses will be the next ones. It'll get a little bit busier, so try to stay on top of this, okay, so that you're done with these parts. And if you want to work ahead a little bit, that's fine, okay. The next ones will probably be the operating expenses, so let me just quickly, I'll just show you what that looks like. So if you want to jump ahead. Year 1, you're just thinking about the things that it's going to cost you every month, right? Okay, and they've got a pretty good list here. It's not perfect. This is, again, one of those white areas that, if you don't have any licenses, but you got something else that's kind of funky for your business and you wanted to change that licenses to something, that's fine. You could make that change over here in a white area. That's probably going to, now the unprotect shows up. So you'd have to unprotect it and then change it, and that's fine, okay? So, you could get started on that if you wanted to. You're just going to be putting in, again, orange spaces are all you fill in. See all this down here? It's going to fill in by itself, right? So you just got to worry about the orange spaces, which is just the things you're going to write checks for or have taken out of your account automatically. Got it? Okay, I think that's all I need to talk about today, and you guys can go to work on your Chapter 4, your assignment for Thursday, and then start here on Project 1.